and you guys could definitely go. You know, it's like the sky's the limit. So just a little bit about me. My parents immigrated here about 23 years ago. So I came to the US when I was 8 years old. From Mexico. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we immigrated from Mexico, and so I definitely didn't have like a lot of advantages because as an undocumented person, you know, you can only make so much money, you know, you're getting those minimum wage jobs. And I actually didn't get to have my green card until 2018. So that's not so long ago. Like that was like 4 years ago, I think. So I always kind of had like this dream of like, oh my gosh, like California is beautiful, but like I want to travel so many places. And I had like this dream to travel, but there was like, I had so many obstacles, not only like the money, but also like my, you know, legal status here. Because I was a DACA recipient. For those of you that don't know that, basically they give people that came into the US before they were 13 years old, they give them like permission to work, but that's basically all you can do. You can't really travel outside of the country. So I would see kind of people traveling and just like going places, and I wasn't able to go anywhere. I mean, except for like, I visited like pretty much anywhere you could visit in California, like San Francisco, Yosemite. I just wanted to like explore as much as I could. But that was really hard for me for a while. So all I could do was just really dream about going places. And I just said to myself one day, you know, I'm going to go to Paris because that was like my dream place. I studied French in school and in high school and college. And so for me, like, and I watched a lot of films. I just love their culture, the language. And so when I would see that Eiffel Tower and everything, I was like, man, one day I'm going to be there. And it was kind of like, I spoke it into existence. And to me, that's very powerful too. Just not only working towards it, but believing in it. So that's something that I really recommend to anybody, even if it's not travel, it might be something else. Maybe you want to be a millionaire. Maybe you want to have a Tesla. Maybe you want to be a doctor. Maybe you want to be an astronaut. I mean, it sounds crazy. Like you tell people and they're like, well, are you really going to do that? That sounds like too much. It's like, why not? Like other people do it. Why can I do it? So it's like, once you start being crazy enough to believe that you can do anything, it's like all that follows is just like the will to do it. You just like the will and just the want to do it and just put in the hard work. And there was this one phrase that we had at the school that I used to be working with, Miss Han. We said this thing, dream big, work hard. So that was huge for us. And that's something that I still live by, dreaming big, but also working hard. So throughout those years, I was just dreaming big and speaking it into existence. And then I eventually became a DACA recipient. And during my college years, I did hit like a very low in my life where I had depression and anxiety for like, you know, my past, and just also just being undocumented was very difficult. I had a lot of limitations and big dreams. So I did have depression for a while, and thankfully I can say I don't have depression anymore, but I still struggle with an anxiety disorder. And so the reason why I'm bringing that up is because I noticed when I took my first trip, it was almost as if the anxiety was gone. And so just fast forward a little bit, I finally got my green card 2018. And as soon as I got my green card, I was already saving up to go to Paris. So I don't know if you can go to the third slide, Christine, the quote. So this is like big quotes that I live by. Like the world is a book, and those who do not travel read only one page. I mean, not everybody loves travel, and I understand that, but that's one quote that I always like, because I'm like, I don't want to just stay in one page. And then there's this other quote that I tried finding, but I know I've heard it somewhere before. It was something like, the world is like a big house, and if you just stay in one place, it's just like hanging out in your bedroom the whole time, or the living room. And so I was like, no, I wanna explore the whole house, like, like I want to explore the whole world. So I finally got to go to France. So you can go to the next slide. And so that was like amazing. That was my very first trip. I remember it was like a 10-hour flight. That was like, wow, that's so long for me. It was like the most I've been in a flight was like 2 hours. And it was just so magical, like just stepping into like the Eiffel Tower, the Notre Dame. I don't know if you guys ever watched The Hunchback of Notre Dame. That was like one of my favorite cartoons. And I was nerding out like big time, like, oh my gosh, like this is where they did the movie, like, oh my gosh. And I was looking for the gargoyles, and like it was just so cool. And then like I got to see Mona Lisa, which is like, you see Mona Lisa everywhere, and I got to actually be there. You could barely see there because it's actually really small. Like I was expecting it to be really big, and they have it like blocked off with like glass. And then I got to also go to London because it was so close to Paris. And I got to see, like, I'm a big Harry Potter fan. So I went to that Warner Bros. Studio, and like I spent like hours there. I remember I went with my sister, and everybody was bored, and I was just like, okay, you guys can leave. Like I'm gonna stay here till they close, because it was just so much fun. But it was such a great feeling saving, and which I'll give you guys some tips on that, but just like seeing all my money go towards that, it was so worth it. There's like this saying too, is like, pay for experiences, don't pay for things, because those experiences change you. And I feel like every trip that I've taken, I learned something. There's something about just stepping into a new place. It's like you're in a different world, and it's just so magical to me. Just hearing different languages, seeing how they do things differently, tasting different foods. It's just so cool to me. So yeah, that was such a great feeling. And I think it was the last day we did the Eiffel Tower. I don't know why I left it for last, but it was just like being there. Like I was just like so many chills. Like I remember I even like teared up because I was like, oh my gosh, this is like my dream place. Like I'm here. So it was such a good feeling. And maybe travel might not be your thing. It might be something else, but it's like, I just want to encourage you guys that you guys can accomplish anything you set your minds to do. There's no reason why you shouldn't. The only limitation is yourself. So yeah, I want to share a few practical tips of what I did to like reach my goal. So like I said, just dream it first. You got to dream it, envision it, speak it into existence. I actually had a dream board like in my room where I would put like the things I wanted to accomplish that year. So that might be like something fun you guys can do like at the beginning of the year. Just go get like a poster, and then get old magazines or something. Ask your parents if they have any old magazines they can use, or just print some stuff from the internet. And yeah, so like I had like a picture of Paris, and like, okay, what else do I want this year? Like, oh, like if you want to have like hard rock abs, like print like a picture of someone with hard rock abs. I mean, that helps me just seeing it, and just kind of like having a dream board. So you remind yourself every morning, like, this is what I'm working towards. Because it's really easy to like dream something and then you just forget about it. So just kind of keeping your mind towards and setting like goals. That's the first thing. The next thing is kind of setting up like a budget, like researching like, okay, how much money do I need to like go to Alaska or Norway, Washington. And then just start saving and just say like, set a deadline too. Like, by when do I want to have this money? Because if you don't set those deadlines or those budgets, you're not going to accomplish it. It's just like, they're just goals that are just flying around, and, they're not set. So setting a good budget, finding a good job or a side gig. I mean, I imagine most of you guys still live at home and probably your parents don't ask for much. Thankfully, my mom was like that with me. She was just like, just buy your food, buy your clothes, maybe once in a while help me with the electric bill or the internet. But because of that, I was able to save a lot. It's just about priorities. When we're young, sometimes we want to wear like the cool sneakers that are like $400, or you want to buy a car off the dealer, and it's like, no, you don't need a car off the dealer. You could just get like a nice working car at first, and maybe instead of using those $400 month payment, you can save that. It's just about prioritizing what you want. Or like, we girls sometimes are into the expensive bags or things like that, or eating out a lot is another thing. So just kind of, you're gonna have to save and be like smart about your money. I remember when I went that year that I knew I was gonna go to Paris, I didn't buy clothes that year at all. Like I was just wearing the same clothes, and nobody told me anything. Nobody was like, oh my gosh, you have old clothes. Like, oh, why do you always wear the same thing? Just mix and match and make it work, or go to the thrift store and buy yourself a nice vintage outfit or something. But yeah, just kind of prioritizing and saving. And then the last thing will be like travel smart. So one of the things that I do sometimes to decide where I'm going, I just go on Google Flights, and you just put Google Flights literally, and then you can see like little places around the US. This is probably mostly for the US, but you can try like out of the country, and you can see like the prices already on them. You're like, oh wow, New York's pretty cheap right now. So you click on that, and then you kind of just could see the calendar when it's cheaper to fly. So that's what I do. I just recently went to New York, and I spent about $250 for just my husband and I to fly round trip. And normally it's like $400 per person. So that's one thing that I do. There's another website called slickdeals.com. Just be careful with that one because they have a lot of deals and you just kind of want to spend all your money. But yeah, for Slick Deals, they also have like a travel section, and that's where I booked my flight to Japan. And Japan was, I think we spent $900 round trip for me and my husband. And that's not usually how much it is. It's usually like $1,200 per person. So the reason why it was so cheap, it's because a week before the cherry blossoms were like still out. So the week that we went, they were already like, they had fallen off the tree. I'm like, okay, woo, big deal for me. Like I can look at a cherry blossom tree on a picture or something, I could see it beautifully in the floor or whatever. Or sometimes it's a little cheaper because it's colder. So when I do Europe, I've gone when it's like colder. I'm actually going to Italy in February, and it's going to be cold. But a lot of people are telling me that's actually smart because it's cold. A lot of people don't go, so there's no crowds. So you're going to have like more space to walk and explore. And Venice looks beautiful, but I've heard that during the summer it smells really bad because it's like old already, the waters. So they're like, it's good to go during the winter. So, just spend some good money on a good jacket and, just travel cheap. So another one that I'm using right now is Scotch Cheap Flights. They have a free subscription, but they don't show you all the flights. So basically any mistake fares or anything that's just like last minute deal, they'll post it up and they'll send you an email. And I paid like $50 a year for me to get all the deals. So I get a lot of good deals there. So yeah, you guys don't have to break your bank to do that, and the Airbnbs, I check Airbnbs to see what's cheaper, Airbnbs or hotels. Don't be too picky about where you're staying. I remember when we went to Japan, we were in Osaka for 2 days just because we wanted to do Universal Studios. And we literally stayed in a place that was like the size of a closet. And they just had like mats on the floor and like AC. And you had to go to like a public restroom outside. no big deal. I mean, you're not gonna spend the whole day inside your hotel or your room. Like, you go out there to explore. You just want somewhere where you can lay your head at night. So just travel smart like that. You don't have to splurge like that unless you want to make it like a fancy trip, which there's nothing wrong with that. You're just gonna have to budget more for it. But yeah, just kind of looking for deals. Those are kind of just some practical things that I've done.
What's an example of a side gig? Because I know you have a regular job.
Oh yes, I missed that. Yes, so I forgot to say that. So once I got married, obviously I moved out and I had to pay for rent, I had to pay for food, gas, all of that. So, and then my husband and I had been saving for a house. So he told me, okay, we have to pick between a house or travel. Like, what do you want to do? And I was like, well, I really want to travel. Why can't we do both? So he was like, well, we're gonna have to get like a second job or something. So I started just kind of poking around, like, what can I do? What can I do to like travel? I didn't necessarily want to get another job because it's really exhausting. But I was like, maybe I can start making cookies, I thought, but then I was realizing like, this is really hard and it's very competitive. So I kind of just kept poking around and seeing. And so what happened to me, this is my side gig right now, but you guys can find your own because everybody has talents. Like, I don't know, maybe some of you guys are really good at drawing, or you're really good at math. You can do like math tutoring, or, just find what you're good at and like have a little side gig or get a little summer job. But for me, my sister, I don't know if you guys are into like the whole sneaker thing, like those really hard to get sneakers. So my sister wanted to get these shoes called the Chunky Dunks, which they're like the Ben and Jerry's dunks. And she said, can you please help me get into this raffle? I want these shoes really bad. And I said, sure. So, oh my gosh, I'm sorry. Give me a second.
Have you guys heard of Chunky Dunks? I have not.
You guys should look them up. They're really neat. So they're basically like a Ben and Jerry dunk, and it looks like a cow. Like it has a cow print, and it's really cool actually. But she really wanted those shoes, and she said the resale on those is $1,000 and they're only 100. And I was like, what? Like, you could win these in a raffle? And she was like, yeah. And I was like, that's crazy. Why would anybody pay $1,000? She's like, because they're really rare shoes. And so this was during like the COVID, like when COVID started. So then I got the idea, you know what if I start entering all these raffles for like really difficult to get shoes, and I just resell them. And so that's how my little resale business started. And I've made pretty good money with it. It's just a lot of work. So thanks to that, my husband and I have been able to travel. I also did like Fright Fest this year, which is super out of my comfort zone. But I said, you know what, why not? It'll be fun. So I did Fright Fest and I made like $1,000 just for working like a month, and that's like $1,000 towards my Italy trip. So yeah, just kind of finding like something that works for you. That, there's just so many things, so many ways to make money out there. I mean, obviously make money honestly. So yeah, that's just some examples. So yeah, the next slide. So yeah, these are just some trips that I've taken. I've taken 9 trips since 2018, which I'm really grateful for. And I realize it's like a lot. That picture in the middle, I was in Japan and I'm pretty excited there, but the lady's actually cleaning poop off my back because the owl pooped on me. So I don't know why I look so excited. But yeah, no, it's just, nothing's impossible. I've done UK, France, Japan, Maine, New Hampshire, New York, Miami, and we're gonna be going to Italy in February. So I'm really looking forward. So anything is possible. You just gotta do it. I'm sorry, I have a really misbehaved child here. I was worried he was gonna do that. He's really mad at the Amazon drivers right now on the Prime. I think he thinks they're breaking into our home or something. Yeah. So yeah, just the last thing I wanted to just share with you guys is, maybe travel is not your thing. but pay attention to what excites you and fills you with joy in life. Like I mentioned, I'm still healing from anxiety. But I noticed when I travel, it's almost like it's not there. So that to me was like a sign, like this is a thing that I love doing. Like I'm the most happy when I travel. So that's why I put a lot into it. So once you find what excites you, pay attention to that. You guys are super young. You guys can explore so many things. Once you find what excites you, find ways to do more of that. Like whether that's a job that's connected to that, or whether it's finding a job that will allow you to do more of that, whether it's going to allow you more free time to focus on that, or provide you the income to do those things. Right now, I'm actually like job hunting because I want to find a job that will allow me to travel more, because I don't feel like I get enough vacation time to like fulfill where I want to go. So I'm looking for something like that. Because definitely, or I can look into something that's like travel, like I could become, I don't know, like I still don't know. I'm still looking into it, to be honest. So yeah, just kind of, that's my advice to you. I'm sorry, give me a second, guys. One quick second.
I didn't realize she went to that many places. That's amazing. I've gone to like Santa Barbara, places like that. All right. So, what are some questions that you guys have for Betsy? Any questions about how she
Yes.
how she plans her trips? Or here's one question: if you didn't know French, would it be hard to get around?
It was actually hard anyway, because French, they speak it so fast. And the people in France, they're not mean, but they're not as friendly as like Americans. So like sometimes you would ask them to repeat something, they'd be like, they kind of give you attitude. So I think it just depends on the culture too, because I went to Japan and I didn't know, I knew 10 words. I knew like credit card, hello, this, please, where's the train? And I felt like I was easier to get around there just because people were so friendly and willing to help. So I think it just depends where you go. So you don't have to necessarily know the language. And I mean, Americans are really popular. We're the ones that travel the most. So there's always someone that speaks English in like every country. But I think it's just the willingness and the friendliness that makes it easier. I mean, you could always point at things. I have the Google Translate app, so you can do that too. It helps. I know I used that like a couple times in Japan.
But you're right, Trevor. Most Europeans don't like American tourists.
They do not. Yes, that's a good observation. I've heard that. They've told me, just say you're a Mexican when you go over there. Don't say you come from America, but I mean, not everyone's like that, but I've heard that. Yeah. What's the other question? Is there any more?
I can't see anyone's.
Somebody same with Japan. Yeah. So like I said, Japan was easier to get around. Yeah. It was so much easier. Everybody was so friendly. I definitely recommend Japan. I think so far from all the places I visited, Japan was my favorite. I want to go back again. It was just so awesome. And I love sushi and ramen and udon, like everything that's like Japanese. Oh my gosh, I was just like having a blast eating all their little treats there. Like they have, I don't even drink soda, but they have this melon soda. I was like drinking it every day because it was so good.
So besides, I mean, those websites that you shared, that's a really great resource to kind of start looking around and seeing. How do you budget how much money you're going to need for a trip and how many days? And I mean, I guess it's hard for me to think how much money I would need for something, and then especially if you're going with another person.
Yeah.
Like you went to New York with your husband and George, who's like a mutual friend. Like how much did you tell George you need this much money to come with us on our trip?
Yes, I kind of just do like an estimate. So first is the flight. I look up the dates that I plan on going. So I do an estimate on that. And then I like kind of do an estimate of like kind of what's the average price for like the stay. Because I was looking at both Airbnb and hotels. And then on top of that, I put in like the transportation, like, because you read kind of what's the thing. Like I knew New York, for example, they have like a $30 bus card for 6 days. So I'm like, okay, now I know that I'm gonna need $30, you know? So kind of just doing like a lot of research about the transportation, how that works. Those are the main things: transportation, stay, food. And then kind of just like once I do the research, I just kind of do an estimate and I kind of just throw a little bit extra just to be safe. So like if I normally needed like 4,000, for example, for Japan for both me and Irvin, my husband, then I'll probably be like, let's just say 5,000 just to be safe, because you don't know whether, you know, something might come up or you end up visiting more places. So I try to budget like a little bit more, not just like exactly the amount.
Ellie's asking, what did you do in Japan? And Kat is saying, do they have ramen places on every corner? Like
yes, they had ramen places everywhere that you can walk. And it was so cool because literally you can go to the most rigidly old looking place and the food was always good. Like I never tried anything that I was like, oh my gosh, this was nasty. Everything just tastes amazing. Like you could just close your eyes and point at somewhere and be like, let's go eat there, and it'll be amazing. It was really good. What did I do? We went for 12 days, I think. And so we did Osaka, which was Universal Studios, and then there was Dotonbori, which looks like all these lights, kind of like New York Times Square.
You go on the Jurassic Park ride in Universal?
I didn't, because I don't like roller coasters, but my husband loves roller coasters and he said it was so intense. He came out and his face was like he had all these broken blood vessels, like because he had so much pressure, and he had that for 2 days. It looked like he had like a bad rash reaction, but he was like, oh my gosh, that was awesome. Like his hair was like everywhere. I was like, dude, that looks bad. I don't, you're all on your own, I'm sorry. I was just down there just eating food and stuff. But yeah, so we did that. We did Kyoto, which I loved it. It was like old school Japan. You see like everybody with their kimonos and like just really pretty. We went to like a monkey park where you get to feed the monkeys. We did Kobe, which they had like a zoo that you get to feed all the animals. Like we fed kangaroos and turtles. It was really cool. And then we did Tokyo, which is like the big city, and like everything you could do there, like that Shibuya crossing where everybody crosses at the same time, and all the touristy things. But we were able to visit like 4 different cities. It was really cool, and we got to ride the bullet train, which takes you places really like fast. And that one was expensive because it was, I think, like 300 for 7 days, but it's worth it because you can go around Japan really fast. So yeah. Yeah. You say you wanna, well, somebody asked the Jurassic. Yeah, the Jurassic World was cool. They had like actual people dressed up like dinosaurs, and like they look like real dinosaurs chasing people. It was really fun. I liked it. We did also Disney actually in Tokyo. We did one of the parks, so that was fun.
Is it a lot different, Disneyland in Japan versus Disneyland?
Yes, I just feel like anything in Japan, like they do better. Like they just anything. Like, okay, we want to make a burger, we're gonna make it better than Americans. We want to make crepes, we'll make them better. Like everything was just better. It's definitely like, I recommend anybody to go. You guys will love it. And I don't know if you guys heard about their toilets. They're really cool. They almost look like spaceships. Yeah, it's
Aren't they
an
like
experience.
spraying water or air in every which way?
Yes, they spray water. They're like, they have seat warmers. Like, they even have like little music. So like, if you're in a public place and you know you're gonna be loud, you could just turn on like little bird sounds. So yeah, I think even just going to visit just so you can see their toilets is worth it. I know it sounds funny, but it was really interesting.
Least favorite place?
Okay. You know what's funny? Paris was my favorite, my dream place, but so far it's my least favorite, which is so weird because it was my dream place. And I think what was a turnoff a little bit was that the people were, like I said, a little mean, and they try to pickpocket us the first day. There's a lot of pickpocketing in Europe, so you got to watch out for that. So yeah, that kind of just set the tone for that week for me. And I also, the people that I went with, they were complaining a lot. So that's another thing. Always travel with someone that you know will be fun to be around, because that's what they say when you travel. That's where you get to know people. So make sure you always travel with someone that's like fun and always like down to earth and like willing to do anything. Yeah, because you don't want to, you're spending so much money, you want to make sure they don't like ruin your moments, you know. So I think, but I definitely want to go back to France maybe during the summer and just have like another try at it, because I feel like it was just that one, those experiences that ruined it a little bit.
All right, last question. I'm going to let her go soon because she has another meeting at 12. Australia and New Zealand. She said you would.
Oh, yes, definitely. I think the only thing I'm afraid of Australia, I've heard they have really big spiders. But yeah, that's definitely on my list. Those are great. Thank you.
What is a place you want to go to
that I haven't been to? I really want to go to Bali because I haven't done anything that's like vacation kind of relaxing. Like, I'm always just exploring, and Bali looks so pretty. It's like, I don't know if you guys seen pictures. It's like jungle everywhere and like infinity pools, and like everybody there eats like vegetarian. I'm pescatarian, so that sounds really cool. So yeah, I think that's definitely one place I want to go to, that I've heard it's really expensive to fly to, but I've heard like once you're there, it's cheap. So yeah, that's one place I want to go to. So if you guys ever have any questions, you can give him my email, Christine. I'll be happy to like give you guys travel tips.
Sure. Thank you so much. That's very cool. I feel like, yeah, it makes me look at travel as more of a possibility. I just kind of rule it out sometimes because I just think it's too expensive. And but I think if you set it aside, do you just set it aside in your bank account, or like do you just kind of calculate it separately?
I have a separate like account where it's just travel, so that I don't touch that money.
That's a good.
And then I still have like my savings. Yeah, for like other things. It just helps. You can have a piggy bank too. That's something my sister did. They would buy like these huge piggy banks, and all their change, they would just throw it in there, and they would just go to trips like that too.
Nice. All right, I'm gonna let you go. Thank you so much.
Yeah, of course. Thank you guys for having me and for all the great questions. You guys were a great audience. Like, I've never done this before, like talk to people like this. So I was happy to do it with you guys. So Thank you. And remember, anything's possible.
Thank you so much for sharing.
Yeah.
You're welcome. Have a good day, guys.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.